Hi, I'm Donna MacDonald. I'm a member of Local 799, the Providence Fire Department in Providence, Rhode Island. And after 15 years of service, I had to retire due to occupational cancer. In 2005, I was diagnosed with chondrosarcoma, which is a very rare type of bone cancer, and it was in my sternum, which is a very rare spot for this type of cancer. The only cure for this is removal of the bone. So chemotherapy or radiation do not work on this type of tumor. So they removed the body of my sternum, replaced it with a prosthetic, and then cemented my ribs to it with a bone cement, and then replaced my pectoral muscles by sewing them together right over the prosthetic. So it took me about 9 months of intense physical therapy to be able to get the strength and flexibility back in order to go back to work. And I did go back to full duty, but over the course of the next year, my body started rejecting this prosthetic. So I had to go into surgery again and have that prosthetic removed. They were going to replace it, but found that there was an infection behind the original prosthetic, so they couldn't replace it. But I did have a lot of scar tissue in there that could almost act as a sternum, and they just replaced my pectoral muscles again, sewed them back together, and closed me up. They did recommend that I don't go back to work, but I am very stubborn and hard-headed, and I wanted to go back full duty. So I did the same thing from first time around, intense physical therapy. I built the strength and flexibility back, and I did go back to work. And I did really well for about 8 years. I was full duty, working on an engine company, fighting fires, lifting, doing everything I needed to do. But all those years of the wear and tear on my chest, it started to deteriorate. So they had to reconstruct my entire chest, put in a new prosthetic that is bolted in with titanium, and they had to cut the muscles and re-sew them for the third time. So this time I had a lot harder time getting back to work. The muscles just didn't want to heal, and I was having extreme pain anytime I lifted anything heavy. So I did go back to full duty, but it was very short-lived. I was still having extreme pain, and anytime I wore an air pack, it would pull on my shoulders, which would pull on my chest. So I realized that I was going to have to retire. I was worried about someone else getting hurt and not being able to pull my own weight. So I had to make that horrible decision, and I was devastated because I wanted to do 30 years on the job. I wanted to go through the ranks, and I only got 15. I mean, I'm grateful for the time I got since diagnosis. I did get to do almost 10 years, so I'm very grateful for that. But I was very upset having to retire. And then this cancer follows me. Even though I am 15 years cancer-free, the issues because of the cancer still plague me. I have immune system issues because of the cancer, damaged it. So I started growing tumors on my wrist. So over the years, I have had 8 surgeries, so 4 on my chest and 4 on my wrist. The most recent one was a year ago where they had to completely reconstruct my wrist, so it's all a titanium bone and plate, and it's all fused together now. I also have issues with my blood work. I am constantly getting checked by an oncologist. We follow up every 3 months, and I've had recently 2 infusions because my levels drop so low that they give me iron and some kind of medication to help boost my blood count. So it is something that follows you. I am able to be healthy and active for the most part. I just get tired very quickly, and I can't lift heavy like I used to be able to do. But other than that, I lead a pretty healthy life. Some of the things that I would change, though, would be washing my gear, because I believe I got this from a fire that was a chemical fire that gave me a very bad reaction after the fact. And I wore my full gear in SCBA, but did not wear a hood at that time. And my gear didn't fit me correctly, and it kind of gapped at the neck, so a lot of the water would drip down and land on my chest. So I broke out in a rash after this one fire, a chemical fire, and it was all on my neck and chest. The next day, I wore that same gear again and had that same issue. After that, I washed my gear and everything was okay until a year later when I was diagnosed with cancer in that same area. So at the time, I didn't put 2 and 2 together, but started to really think about it. And the doctor said that the tumor had been growing for about a year, had started a year earlier, and that was right when I was at that fire. So it's too much of a coincidence. And I learned the hard way. Take a shower right after fires, change my clothes, change the gear, and wash it. And I did that after the fact, but I already had the cancer. But I did change that and hopefully influenced other people to do the same thing. I also make sure I go to the doctor once a year, which I didn't do before. I didn't have a physical every year. I was younger, I was healthy, I never even got sick before this diagnosis. So I didn't always get a physical done. I don't know if they would have found it early or not, but I don't know now because I wasn't going to the doctor and getting a physical. So I definitely recommend getting a physical every year. If you catch this early, it's much easier than if you're at a later stage. So definitely get checked out all the time. So this will help you lead a long, healthy career and also a long, healthy retirement. So I hope this helps, and thank you very much for listening.